Welcome back to the Fearless Females Voice podcast, where women's stories and experiences are shared to empower and inspire others. On this episode, I want to talk to you about routines. So I've been speaking to my clients and many other women at the start of this year, and I feel as though January, there's a lot going on. People are looking at goal setting, creating vision boards, and there's the whole kind of new year, new me vibe, which I think is great. But for people, that means changes. It means trying to start new things or get better at existing things or reach certain targets. I feel with all of this comes new routines. So firstly, let's go over routine. You're probably thinking, what exactly is a routine? So for me, a routine is something that's built up of small habits which you do frequently. So for example, I have my morning routine and my evening routine. This is something that I've built over the years, and I dedicate certain time slots in the morning for things that I want to do, things that make me feel good. So the routine helps me keep on track, and I found doing things in that time make me feel amazing and really set up my day and also end my day in the right way for me. So routines can be a part of breaking down your goals. So at the start of the year, as I mentioned, people are goal setting, and I'm sure many of you have thought about what you'd like to achieve this year. If you look at it as a whole, if you look at the overall goal for the year, it may feel a little overwhelming, and you'll be wondering, how the hell am I going to get that done? How the hell am I going to achieve there? But all you need to do is break things down into smaller, more manageable chunks and practice them frequently. So you have your long-term goal, which you want to achieve by the end of the year. It's all about how do you make that long-term goal into short-term goals so you're continuing to move forwards and seeing progress. That's where a routine can kick in. Now, many people struggle to not only find their routine, but stick to it. So I'm going to talk through my experiences with it. So let's go back to before the pandemic. So I lived in a flat share. I had a full-time job, and my morning routine was pretty much wake up, get ready, and go to work. I think I gave myself 10 or 15 minutes from waking up to leaving the flat. I'd eat breakfast at work at my desk, and so I used to wake up around 7 a.m., roughly 7 a.m.-ish, and that worked for me at the time, but I didn't know any different. I didn't actually think of a morning routine. I was actually thinking of how can I maximize my sleep time by waking up as late as possible and doing the most minimum amount of things in the morning. That was my thinking back then. 1 month before the pandemic, I moved in with now my husband, Akash, who was my boyfriend at the time. And then during the pandemic, I was working from home. So there were two really, really big changes in my life, and I didn't really know what to expect. I hadn't worked from home every single day before, and I also hadn't lived with a boy. I'd never done that before, so it was all very new experiences for me. So firstly, adapting to living with my boyfriend at the time, so Akash, it was a very new experience for me, and working also in the same space as each other as he was also working from home. So we were pretty much around each other 24/7 during that initial pandemic phase, especially because we couldn't really see anyone, socialize, and there was that whole period of lockdown where we weren't going out much. So it was very much in your face. That was kind of a make or break for us, I'd say, but we dived straight into it. So usually I would commute to work, and it took around 40 minutes every morning. But as I was working from home, I thought, wow, I have an extra 40 minutes of sleeping. But then I thought, actually, I have an extra 40 minutes in the morning to myself or to do something that I actually want to do. This is new time and new territory for me that I'd never ever had before. Or actually, as I said, I didn't quite carve out the time for it because back then my mindset was, I just want to wake up as late as possible and get changed and get to work. As I was going through a lot of change at the time, I decided to start journaling daily. I wanted to capture my thoughts, my feelings, and also things that I had been doing, just to help me see what was going on and get everything out of my mind and onto paper, because sometimes my mind gets quite, there's a lot going on, many thoughts. So I have to just get it out, either tell someone, write it down. For me, writing it down works so well. This only took about 5 minutes of my morning. So initially, that's what I started off with. So I'd never really experienced a peaceful morning before work because I was trying to maximize that time and minimize how long it takes between getting out of bed and getting in the car to work. So when I started working from home and there were these extra 40 minutes, I decided to read. I used to read when I was younger, and I had all of these books that I'd never really had a chance to go through, but I really wanted to read. So I decided to pick up Shantaram. So I don't know if you've heard of this book, but of all the books, this has been on my bookshelf for, I think, 6 years. And it's huge. Like, it's very thick. I think there's just under 1,000 pages. So for me, it was intimidating to even look at. But I decided that's going to be my in. That's going to help me get back into reading. Because whilst I was doing my solo travel in my 20s, every single traveler or backpacker had told me about this book. So I thought, I have to read it. So I got as far as buying it, but I never really read it. So with Shantaram, again, I was looking at it thinking, how the hell am I going to get through this book? But it must be an amazing story, so let me just get straight into it. So during this 40 minutes of what would have been my commute time, I decided to start reading, and I started reading with 10 minutes or so a day, and then it picked up to 15 and eventually 30 minutes. And then I was thinking, I love reading and what it's doing for my mind, so I wanted to read even more. So I decided to wake up even earlier to read more. My normal wake-up time, as I said, was around 7 a.m., but I decided to wake up 15 minutes earlier because I just had to read more. For me, that was like the thing. I need to read. I loved reading before I started work. It worked so well for me and set me up for the day. As the day went on, Akash and I realized as we were working together in the same space, in different rooms, that we didn't actually get to see much of each other, especially if we were working late in the evenings. Because of that, we decided to do something else in the morning. We thought we'd add in a 30-minute walk as well. This meant waking up even earlier, but it was so nice to do. There's something refreshing and peaceful about going out for a walk early in the morning when people are still asleep or getting ready to start their day, and just having this whole environment to yourself. It's as though you're getting ahead of time, if that makes sense. So that walk still happens to this date. We still go out every single morning to go for our morning walk, and it helps us as well connect and set up for the day and talk through anything and just be around each other's company. So it's just a really nice thing to do for us. This then formed my morning routine. So the habits I picked up were reading, journaling, going for a walk, making my breakfast and tea, and then starting work. So as you heard, I started my reading habit by reading for small chunks of time. I also used to put the book on my sofa seat where I read, right near the window, which was my trigger to pick up the book in the morning. We would also then talk about what we were reading on our walks. So it all came together. And doing this daily was a game changer for me. So if you want to start a new habit, then form some sort of trigger which will make you take action for this habit if you're finding it difficult to start. And also start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with it and have some accountability or reward from actually doing it. I really enjoy talking about what I read because I feel books engage and excite people in different ways, and we all take our own learnings from it. So I like to share my thoughts and hear others as well. This is why I started my own book club back end of last year. And the book clubs are really good for me to, again, have the accountability to read the book, but then share my thoughts, which was the rewarding part for me. So how can you create your own morning routine? So the things I would say are, firstly, understand how much time you have in the morning. Ask yourself, when do you ideally want to wake up? And when are you currently waking up? Is there a gap there? And how do you eliminate that gap? So if you're wanting to wake up at 6:30 a.m., but you wake up at 7:30 a.m. currently, then you need to work on that first. And getting up on time is a really important factor for this morning routine, because the more you hit snooze, the more you stay in bed as and when you want to wake up, the harder it will be to get in this morning routine and start your habits. It might sound obvious, but it's really easy when you're at that place where you're sleeping, you're rested, and then the alarm goes off and you're thinking, oh, I just can't be bothered to get up. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. When you know what time you want to wake up, think about what you'd like to do in the time that you have. It could be anything from, let's say, meditate, exercise, go to the gym, go for a walk, sit and have a coffee, read or journal. Think of things that will help you, things that will excite you, things that you actually want to do. Even just getting your own peace in the morning, I think would be so beneficial for you. I know some of my cousins who are mothers tell me that they want to wake up extra early before everybody else in the house wakes up, just to have their own time. That's the time in the morning where it's super peaceful, there's nothing going on, and that's their time. That's what they like to do, and it works really well for them. So once you've got that, book in your slots. So for example, if you wake up at 6:30 and you have to start work at 8, then you have 1.5 hours to do something that you want. You can either split that time up or do one long chunk of whatever it is that you want to do. It's your routine, and play around with it. So I have got a disclaimer, because I didn't really have a morning routine. And when I started one during the pandemic, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to put in the time that I had. Because some things work and some things don't work. And you'll know that through trial and error. So there's no harm in thinking, oh, actually, I want to go to the gym between 7 and 8 a.m. But then when you're doing it, you're thinking, I don't think this is working for me. Maybe I'll go in the evening instead. And that's absolutely fine, but you wouldn't have known that until you actually tried it. So the advice is trial and error. If you think you want to try something, give it a go and see what happens. So when you're looking at creating your routine, I'd say make it realistic. So we were talking about getting out of bed. Don't aim to get out of bed at, like, for example, 4:30 a.m. to try and fit everything in, as realistically, this may not happen. So always think what you think would work best and try it out. The key to making a routine work is consistency. You need to keep doing these habits within the routine consistently. Now, some people say or think that routines and habits restrict them, as they're having to do things within a certain time or a certain way. I was actually one of those people and used the motto, let's just go with the flow, or let's just wing it. I didn't really have much of a structure back in the day, and I actually do wonder how I got by, because I'm very, very organized when it came to my professional career and work. But in my personal life, I was a little less so. And I now feel that routine means freedom. You're using that time wisely, your free time, and getting stuff done that you normally wouldn't have done. You're not procrastinating, and you know you only have a certain period of time to do the task. It creates chunks of free time, and I truly do live by my routines and feel that they would be helpful for many of you. So as part of my Stuck to Success program, I support my clients on creating high-performance habits. Habits which are going to help them achieve their goals and gain the successes that they want. Habits do not come easily, so having that extra support has been really helpful for many of my clients. I've managed to nail my morning routine pretty much thanks to the pandemic, and now I'm helping my clients nail their routines as well. And they felt so much better for it. They feel like they've got way more time in the day to be doing what they want to do. And also they feel more productive. I've also been able to work on my evening routine, as my social life at the time didn't exist anymore when we were in the lockdown. So it meant earlier nights, chilling more at home, relaxing, and there's only so much TV that I can watch, so I had to find new creative ways to stay entertained. Now, we are looking to reduce our TV consumption, Akash and I, so we've decided to swap TV with playing games in the evenings, or cooking together, or enjoying a slow meal around the table, or even just going for a walk. I also like reading before bed so that there's no screens and it gives me a calmer sleep, a deeper sleep. So this is something that you can also try for the evening. If you're struggling to sleep or get to sleep, you can try to limit your screen use. You can try to go for a walk. There's things like having a nice long bath. There's loads of things that you could try. But I would say an evening routine really does help your sleeping pattern as well. I'd love to know more about your routines and what you think about them and whether you feel restricted with them or not. Feel free to DM me on my social media or email me with your thoughts. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Females Voice podcast. Don't forget, I have a free quiz for you which will help you discover how fearless you are. It identifies where you're being held back in life and will give you some tips at the end on how to improve your mindset and confidence so you are living your best life. You can take the free quiz on my website, www.fearlessfemales.me. Also, I'd love for you to do me a massive favor. If you enjoyed the podcast, then be sure to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Thank you.